Welcome back to Bravo Breaking News with Kim and Lisa. The Real Housewives of Orange County certainly did not waste any time getting right into it during last night's part one reunion. Let me just say, I was seated for the entire episode.
Yes, these ladies were throwing digs right and left. And they were also digging up stories on each other. We got to see a lot about Katie's past. Emily was going pretty hard on Jen about the Ryan case. So there's a lot to unpack.
So much to unpack. We also have to unpack what digging up actually means because we do get into it in this episode. We've talked, I think that's kind of like the theme of this season, it seems like. So I don't know. I can't wait to hear your thoughts and whose side you're on. But before we dive in, you guys know what to do. Make sure you guys are subscribed so you don't miss any more Bravo Breaking News. We've got the reunion part 2 and 3 coming. And we are going to be recapping Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. The new season is just, I don't know, a week or two away at this point. So I'm so excited for that. Make sure you guys are sat and subscribed.
If it's anything like the trailer, I think we are in for a hell of a season with Beverly Hills.
Oh, totally.
Okay, so we start, and I can't help but notice that most of the time on reunions, we get this sort of reveal with the ladies coming out one by one, you know, Andy commenting on their outfits, how great they look. We even usually get some like behind the scenes stuff as they're still getting ready. We didn't get any of that with OC. Like they were just sat and he's like, hi, everyone. Hi, Andy. So, and that tells me it's because the outfits just weren't worth that, you know, that extra time. But, you know, like I said last week, everyone looks great. They're just not, they're not giving much, you know, it's not this dramatic reunion look.
No, not at all. Not at all. Though I do think something that was worthy of a reveal was Tamara's new face. Now we know that this came right after the iconic green face treatment, whatever it was that she got. I got to know, what were your thoughts on the new face?
I mean, I think she looks good. Like I do. I think she looks good. I still don't understand why she turned green. And she was like, oh, it wasn't that bad. It was only a week and a half of looking ugly. But I'm like, that seemed really painful too. Like when she was talking about it, she was so swollen. It was like flaking off. I don't know. I mean, was it worth it? I guess I'd have to see a before and after because I didn't think she looked bad before. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I got to say, you know how I feel about Tamara. I thought she looked phenomenal. I thought the face looked phenomenal. She's gorgeous. I'm just going to say it. I hope that I look like her when I'm at her age. I thought it was worth it. I thought she looked great. I mean, her dress, not going to say anything about that. Wasn't super impressed by it, but I thought her facial work was 10 out of 10. I would be very happy with that if I were her.
Oof. Okay. And Andy also revealed that this was the 100th season of Housewives. And it is so fitting that it was OC, you know, that got that 100 mark because that's where it all started. And so, you know, it would have felt like they got robbed had it gone to Salt Lake or something else. So I'm wondering if they planned it like that because it definitely worked out.
I agree. Like give credit where credit is due.
Yeah.
OC is the OG, and let's mark a milestone. I think this season actually did it justice, to be honest. But we dive in, and like I said, I feel like we just really dove headfirst into all of the major issues. The first one being Tamara versus Shannon. I can't believe we're already digging into this. We're only in part 1, but you know, Tamara shares that her intention going into the reunion is not to make things uncomfortable or toxic, but that's classic Tamara. So I don't know if she's going to uphold to that. And she, you know, just a few minutes in, we already see her, you know, not holding that up. She says that she's trying to find where her anger comes from through therapy. And now this is where it gets a little questionable for me because, you know, in real time, according to her, she had done one therapy session and which had where she found out she was on the spectrum during that session and also trying to control her anger. I don't know. It's like the timeline isn't really adding up between the reunion and when she came out on the podcast. She had only really done one session. I don't know. It doesn't really feel like she's doing the work, though it does seem like Shannon's doing the work because she reveals she's setting healthy boundaries. She said that earlier in the season. She continues to be doing that. And I think that that's the right way to go for Shannon.
Yeah. Yeah. Tamara was a little bit Caroline Brooks on her healing journey where she went to one session with a healer and then was like, that's my journey.
I'm good.
So no, that's a good point though, because you're right. There wasn't a ton of time between the reunion being filmed and Tamara coming out and saying that she's on the spectrum. So how many sessions has she been to? But I will say it seemed like overall she was actively trying to stay calm. I think normally we see her like instantly yelling, and I think she probably wanted to at certain points. You could see Shannon getting fired up, but Tamara, I did notice a few moments where she was like, I kind of expected her to yell and she didn't. So I don't know, maybe it's a wonder therapist.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I think it's like bubbling inside of her. Like, you know, that meme of that boy just like holding it all in. He's squeezing it all in. I feel like that's Tamara right now. She's going to burst.
It's going to burst. Yeah, no, totally. Okay, so getting into the DUI, and Shannon says like she doesn't feel the need to defend herself anymore to people in terms of how she is currently consuming alcohol. We get a comment from Heather that's pretty shady saying that, you know, her blood alcohol level was so high. It was 3 times the legal limit. And Terry said, you have to be a person who drinks a lot and often in order to even be awake or, you know, coherent at that blood alcohol level. So I feel like they are making a lot of digs and a lot of assumptions here with Shannon's relationship to alcohol. And I'm over this. I think Emily said it best. You cannot bully someone into admitting that they have a problem. You cannot bully someone into quitting drinking. And it's really just, you know, they're really just like poking and poking at this point. And it's up to Shannon to decide what she needs to do.
It totally is. And she keeps trying to explain that. And the other ladies are even backing her up. You know, her and Gina had a lot of issues last year. They come to terms, and Gina is really supporting Shannon and having her back in this moment. But Tamara, yet again, is not going to let sleeping dogs lie, or whatever the saying is. She is once again going to bring up another, speaking of dogs. Hey, Ozzy.
I know. Sorry.
She's once again going to bring up another accusation about Shannon's drinking. And this one is that while Shannon was in her 30-day program that I think was mandated after her DUI, that she was drinking during the program, and that she called Tamara, was really drunk, didn't remember what she said, and then called her and had the exact same conversation. Like, none of this really makes sense. Now, I don't know if this was like a program where she had to go and stay somewhere for 30 days, or if this was just a, what do they call it, outpatient program or whatever the saying is. I don't know. So that was interesting. And then I got to give it to Tamara, because this is not a trend that I was following.
Right.
They do this flashback series where Tamara basically says, this is like the 10th reunion where we're talking about your drinking, and editors bring up the receipts, proof, timeline, screenshots, and had all of the proof from all of the different reunions of Shannon's drinking being brought up. What were your thoughts when you saw this? Because I was actually surprised. This hadn't really stuck with me.
It was shocking, and it was hard to watch because, I think we had sort of compartmentalized that, or like it didn't fully like settle into my brain that this has been brought up every season prior. So it was tough to watch that. And I don't know. If I'm Shannon, I'm looking at that and saying, okay, if this is truly something that I've been questioned about for 10 years, even if I don't believe it's true, I need to take a hard look at myself and say, maybe it's best that I just abstain.
Yes. No, I agree with you. Like I said, I wasn't really clocking this. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't know that her drinking had been a storyline for 10 seasons. I don't think it had been a storyline, but it had definitely been mentioned and brought up in moments. So I don't know. That's definitely a moment where you have to take a good look at yourself and realize that this isn't just, you know, around the time frame of the DUI. This has been going on for a while.
It wasn't just the divorce from David. It wasn't the custody battle. It wasn't just John Jansen fallout. Like, it wasn't just arguments that paralyzed her. It was all of it. And so when that's a common theme, I don't know. I think you have to make some tough decisions.
I agree. So I don't know. I think we'll get more into this, but it was kind of interesting. We transitioned from Tamara and Shannon to Heather and Shannon.
Yeah.
And Heather, like, really does not give two fucks about Shannon at this point, it seems like.
Yeah. I mean, so we talk again about the Sonoma conversation and about how Shannon thought she was confiding in Heather as a friend, and she thought Heather was hearing this information for the first time. Then she found out later Heather already knew about the photo and everything, but Heather says, well, I didn't see the photo, so I was reacting genuinely when you showed me that horrific photo. Don't add it to my IMDb. But she says, I didn't bring it up until after you went on Jeff Lewis. And Shannon tries to explain that she was saying, look, Jeff, I hadn't thought about the fact that John might have heard the accident and didn't come out until you said it. She was referring to when Jeff initially said it 2 weeks after the accident. The ladies and everyone else took it as she hadn't thought about it until that moment where she's sitting in studio with Jeff Lewis. And they're like, that's a lie. And that would have been a lie. So I see where Shannon sort of went wrong with her phrase, with how she communicated it. But I don't think that it was necessarily this big, like, smoking gun lie where they, caught her in the act or something. So I really don't get why that's such a big thing. But I do understand why her trust has been broken with Heather.
Well, yeah. And I think that there's some context missing, because I don't know if you remember, but Jeff Lewis did film a scene with Shannon for this season after the DUI. So I think that they may be talking about that. That was not shown. I think that Jeff got in, like, maybe there was some sort of drama. Jeff Lewis is part of all the drama, it seems like. And I think that they were no longer able to show that conversation. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that this actually happened. So I think that we're missing a little bit of context, that conversation between Jeff and Shannon, where maybe they talked more in detail about this that we didn't get. But Heather's basically like, so if you don't trust me, then don't fucking tell me anything from now on.
Yeah.
And I get her point, but like, that's kind of hurtful. Like, Shannon was confiding in her, and Heather seems to be totally done. Once again, it kind of seems like Tamara's rubbing off on her. So I don't know. That was tough.
I think Heather and Shannon have always had this clash, right? It's sort of like a clashing of the Titans type thing. And they've moved past it, for small amounts of time, short amounts of time, but then they always revert back. And I just think that they are two people who, for whatever reason, don't get along, don't see eye to eye, don't understand each other fully. And I don't know. I think that they are destined to not be friends. Like, if it were not for this show, I don't think they would be friends.
I totally agree. And Emily, we have Emily off to the side of Tamara being like, just say you're sorry. Just say you're sorry. And Tamara's just sitting there looking at Shannon like, yeah, say you're sorry. And Emily's like, no, bitch, I need you. Like, why can't Tamara just apologize and move on? Like, I think we are all to that point. But Tamara doesn't say I'm sorry, but she says yes to if she will apologize, and then continues to berate her about the drinking. And, Shannon setting her boundaries is like, I accept your apology. I don't want to be your friend anymore. And I think that's that. I do not want them to come back together. I think there are rumors swirling that they're friends again. I really hope that that's not true. I do not want them to be friends. I think it is toxic for both of them. And I want to move on. Like, not to the point of like Melissa and Teresa where they can't film together. But we don't need those dos amigas together anymore.
Yeah, I think, like they said, like, I need a break. Take a break. It doesn't mean you're never going to be friends, but maybe when you guys are both not on this show and trying to secure your spot for the next season and doing whatever you need to make that happen, I think then maybe they can come together and look back and be like, we did some fucked up shit back in the day, didn't we? But we also had some good times together. Let's move forward with the good times and just leave all the bullshit in the past. Is Tamara capable of that? I don't know. But if you remove the show aspect and the cameras from it, I think maybe they could have a genuine friendship.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I think we'll get more of this. We got 2 more parts. But let's dive into Katie, because normally the newbie, the newbies get a package. And we did get a flashback and, saw a little bit more about her. But then the digging began, and we got a lot of dirt on Katie. So let's dive into that. The first of which is whether or not she actually owns her home, which is, I don't know, a minute point, honestly.
A minute point, but when they started sort of listing all of these inconsistencies that Katie has stated, it does add up to something. And I was honestly surprised at this sort of turn of events, because for the next couple minutes, whatever they put on the screen and whatever Katie said and the other lady said, I was like, oh, this is not good for Katie. And I don't think I trust her either. So Gina says, when we first met, I asked you if you owned your home in San Diego, and you said yes. And Katie says, well, it was a lease to own. Okay, but that is not owning your home. So, okay, that's a weird thing to lie about, right? And then Emily says, I thought you moved to San Diego. Katie says, well, I was down there for 2 months because my father-in-law was in the hospital. Okay, I get it. But then all Emily said was you moved. She did move. She moved houses in Orange County. But I think for whatever reason, Katie assumed Emily was saying you moved to San Diego and was like, nope, I'm still here. You're still there, but in a different house. So you did move. So it's just these weird things of why is that triggering for you? And then we get this thing about a $5 million lawsuit about, an idea for golf ball shots. I don't know. And then we get this screenshot of a text message from Sutton saying, Katie used me. She came to my house in Augusta promising to bring all these, famous golfers and do this big event. She didn't bring anyone. She didn't pay the photographer. She didn't pay for the event. And she just used my house for a promotional bit. Okay, that's weird, because when we first met Katie, she came in as friends with Sutton, right? And we got that scene with Sutton.
She even filmed with her. Yeah. So when did this happen? Seemed like they were on good terms, but I don't know. The thing that really got me was this whole story about the road rage incident and the texting. It's kind of crazy. She shares that some guy tried to run her off the road. She called the cops, but the other side of the story is that she followed him home because he saw her texting, and the cops were called and she sent him to jail even though he didn't do anything. Was very, very crazy. And honestly, I don't know who to believe, but it was pretty odd that Heather and Emily were calling out oh, the cops can't be wrong. Oh, the cops can't make a wrong accusation. When Emily works for the Innocence Project, which is about people who have been wrongfully accused of things. So it was just a little rich coming from her. I would hope that she would have a little bit more like, give her more of the benefit of the doubt and like hear her side. But Emily, I don't know, she's really pulling out her lawyer card this episode quite a bit, saying, I read these investigations. I'm a lawyer. I know what I'm talking about. I see her side of that, but these are also people that she's on a TV show with. So I would hope that she would like hear them out and hear their side of the story. And then they get into like the whole custody thing with Katie, which I thought was like a low blow. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I think had Katie brought that up about anyone else, it would be end of friendship, end of everything for her. And Katie really took it in stride, I think. Like, that's never easy to talk about, especially losing custody of your children. She says, they were like, why did you give up physical and legal custody of your kids? And she's like, because I had no place to live with them. So what's the option? Be on the streets with my children or have them be with their father? Obviously, she's going to choose having them be with their father. Then they start to question the legal custody. And it's just, I don't know. I don't like that they were digging into that, but I will say that I am definitely looking at Katie differently after this segment. And, I think that she has been through a lot in life. Like, I can't imagine what it feels like growing up adopted. Even if you grow up with an amazing family, you probably still always have this in the back of your mind that I wasn't wanted. And I don't know. I think she might see the world differently or see reality a little bit differently because there's a lot of inconsistencies here.
Yeah. I don't know. I do kind of feel bad, especially after like the whole drama with her daughter and Emily's kids. Like, let's just leave the kids out of it. And then Heather, flashback, Andy's going to call her out because she's like, I hope nobody's digging up stuff and bringing it up to the reunion. You are the one doing the digging. Yes, this was like posted in the news, but it was not brought up on the show. A lot more people are going to be seeing this than a small headline on In Touch, who has become not such a reputable source at this point. So I don't know. The digging up is getting to be a little too, I thought that this was like going overboard.
Yeah, because it also seemed like they had maybe gotten a hold of the police report because there was like an article that said one thing and then the police report said it. And I'm like, okay, that is digging. Like, that's definitely digging.
And all of this over like a paparazzi photo, like, please, come on. Like, what she brought to the table was so surface level. And then what you bring back is by no means like on the same level. It's way lower. So I don't know. Let's switch gears to Jen and Ryan, though, because we end the episode. Of course, Emily is once again putting on her lawyer hat and calling out Jen. So we dive in a little bit more to the investigation. Again, is this a part 1 conversation? I thought we were going to save this to part 3, but we're getting into it.
I'm happy to have it.
Yeah, no, I'm happy too. And of course, they bring up the immunity, which is the question that we have had, and I'm sure everybody has had. And Jen, I feel like, doesn't really have a straight answer. She said she knew he was cooperating with authorities, but he was not guilty of anything, not involved in the bookie business. The feds never came to Ryan's home. She's really, going hard for her man. But Andy continues to question her, which I appreciate. And so does Emily. She's like, I know what immunity is. It means you have to have testified against these people in order to receive protection. How did he get the immunity? Is that what he did? And it kind of seems like she's not giving us a straight answer.
Well, yeah, she says that's his best friend. Like, he would never. And it's like, but that's how it works. So I don't know if it's a function of maybe Jen doesn't understand that, or if she is just, she loves Ryan, right? That much is clear. And when you love someone, you believe what they tell you. And so maybe she's just taking what he says at face value and not really asking follow-up questions, and doesn't realize that maybe he's not being forthcoming, because she says Ryan and his attorney reached out to the feds. Okay, why? Like, why would... So he knew something was going on then, enough to want to report it, and probably thought, if I sort of present this to them, then they're not going to pursue me because I brought it to them. So I just don't think she's quite thinking it through clearly.
Well, and also she's saying, okay, the only way Ryan was guilty was because his name was on the bank account. Why was his name on the bank account? Like, why? That means involvement.
Right. And she's like, that was the mistake. It's like, so yeah, like that's where he like fucked up.
Yeah. So I don't know. She kind of explains how it all worked and, you know, brings up once again the money laundering issue that is basically they joked about at the party, but is kind of actually what was happening, like how insane that was. So I don't know. It was crazy. Emily went really hard at her, but then Jen, even though she didn't really have much rebuttal, she turned it right back around on Emily and is like, well, I heard that your in-laws fund your entire life. And
yeah,
Emily,
what was that?
Emily just kind of sits there quiet, really has nothing to say. They're going at it on social media today. I don't know. We kind of leave on a to be continued. I don't know. I think both parties are kind of like have a point in this situation. I think that Ryan was involved in some way, shape, or form. And Emily's in-laws do tend to fund her lifestyle. And that's a little bit rich, seeing as she came for Jen the whole season about her money issues, about her financial status, about how she doesn't, you know, support her own lifestyle. So I don't know. Where do you stand?
I mean, we'll see. I have a feeling Emily's not going to take that lying down. And I think they're kind of just saving that as the opener for the next episode. But I mean, yeah, who knows? Maybe Perry and I forget Shane's dad's name. Maybe they like bought them the house or gave them the down payment for the house or something like that. I don't think that they, you know, like I think Shane and Emily work, but maybe there is some truth to it. And I think we're going to hear more from Emily on that.
I do too. They're going at each other on social media.
What are they saying? Because I haven't seen that yet.
So Jen is singing the song that she'll stand by her man. Emily is saying that her in-laws do not fund her lifestyle, like that she would be living like Heather Dubrow in private planes if they did. So I don't know. I'm interested to see where this goes. Part 2, we have Alexis coming out already. I think we're going to have her come in end of part 2, and all of part 3 is going to be about Alexis and Johnny J. So let's gear up for that and get ready. We will be here to cover it all. So make sure you guys are subscribed so you don't miss any more Bravo Breaking News.
Thanks so much for listening, everyone. Bye.